Welcome back to another episode of Off the Shelf Book Talk with book lovers, and I am Elizabeth Nelson here with Kay Johnson. And Kay, what have you been reading?
'Tis the season. And so I have to say that a couple things that I really like to read is the poem of The Night Before Christmas. I think that's super fun to read.
Yes.
And I've been reading it for like 50 years. And I don't know, I just think it's really fun. The night before Christmas and all through the house. Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. I mean, it's just such a great story. And I don't know, it works well because Brian Haynes, the executive director of the museum, wrote a column earlier this month, in December, on Christmas traditions. And he talks about how Santa Claus came. And the fact that Clement Moore's poem was really instrumental in the public's eye and creating Santa Claus and as this sort of jolly fellow with the 8 reindeer and flying through the sky and coming down the chimney and all that good stuff. And so it was fun reading Brian's column, knowing how much I like the poem, you know. And so we run it in the leader often. We'll do that because it's fun if it falls on a day that Christmas. And I think that it's fun. I know families read it like Christmas Eve as a tradition.
We always read it Christmas Eve before going to bed. We tried to read it to Alex, but by that time on Christmas Eve, he's sort of just like, I have to go to bed because Santa's coming. He doesn't really want to read a book at all. A few years ago, I think it was maybe 3 years ago now, up in Dassel Cokato, the Fungus Among Us players did A Visit from St. Nicholas, which was a play based on what could have happened the night that Clement Moore wrote the play.
Oh, yes, I remember. I saw that.
Yeah, and so the whole point of it was that his kids want to publish it, and he doesn't want to, so he gets mad and he burns it.
That's right.
And he can't remember what he wrote, and so he's trying to remember it and rewrite it, and the kids know it and are acting it out downstairs and trying to bring it back together, which is an interesting way to tell it. But yeah, I think it's just there's a cartoon movie called 'Twas the Night Before Christmas where it's the mice are running around fixing everything. It's a VHS. I watched it. Alex is watching it now with my mom. So
there was
but I mean, I think that follows into it too with the classic Christmas stories too. You also then get How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which is a very easy book to read to children. When you've seen the VHS where Boris Karloff does the voices.
Yes.
Because I don't even have to look at what's being said. I can just sort of recite it all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true because it's a classic. And I think everybody in the world knows about Cindy
Lou Who was no more than 2.
Yes, in Whoville.
Yes.
And it's amazing how those books become classics.
Well, and you have also, if you look at other ones, if we move into more adult ones, Debbie McCumber, she has the Miss Miracle books.
Yes, and they're popular.
And for people who don't know, Miss Miracle is, well,
an angel.
She's, I don't know if she say it's Miracle or does she pronounce it a different way and they keep saying Miracle. I can't remember, but she always shows up to help out a family in need at Christmas. And it's generally 2 single people. One of them has a kid, and somehow romance ensues.
Yes. And then conflict.
And conflict and yes.
And the resolution.
Resolution, and everybody's happy.
Yes, and Christmas is saved.
Because I think those were made into Hallmark movies, and the mom from Everybody Loves Raymond, she plays Miss Miracle.
Oh, okay, she would be good.
Yeah, but those were good. What other famous?
Well, I really like the ones by Anne Perry. People may know her as a mystery writer who did the William Pitt and the Monk series, 2 different series. She's now doing a series on William Pitt's son Daniel. I think she's got 4 books out in that series. And but she always has a Christmas story, and I honestly don't know how many. Oh, there's 18. 18
ones?
Christmas books. And she does 1 a year, and she uses characters from the ones I read were all with William Pitt, so
Okay.
I'm not sure if she uses other characters or not. But
Okay.
and she sometimes uses the secondary characters,
Okay.
but they're good because again they're English. They're again in the 1800s, so we're talking carriages and horses and
Big fancy parties.
yes, and also spending Christmas in
Snowed in out in the country.
yes.
This is another
blizzard or
another
a s-
book that you like really well.
Yeah, a storm of some sort isolates people, and something happens, and then conflict and resolution.
Yes.
And Christmas is saved. But they're all really good, and the ones I've read anyway, I've always enjoyed them, and I like Anne Perry, so it's a good fit if you're looking for a seasonal book that isn't quite so frothy as like a Hallmark movie, but still good.
Yes.
Then on Kindle Unlimited, which is a service you can subscribe to through Amazon, you can get 10 free books a month. Well, you pay $9.95, so they're not really free, but you're paying $1 a book. And I probably download 100 books a month, maybe 50 books a month. So for me, it's a good deal. But they've had a whole bunch of romantic Christmas books. And they're always the ones where the woman gets dumped by her fiancé, thinking that she's going to be getting married and engaged, but instead she gets dumped. And then they often have to take some kind of new job.
In a small town.
Yes, usually. Yes. And then it's either the hunky detective, the hunky sheriff, the hunky man next door, the handyman, who they don't really like at first, but then they bond through one reason or another. And then
Ex-boyfriend usually shows up. At
yeah,
some
oh
point.
yeah, and throws a wrench in things. And then ultimately, love survives, conflict and resolution.
Yeah. Do you have any like if somebody were to come to you and say, I have a really avid reader in my family, but I don't want to give them a book because chances are they'll have read all the ones I look at. What are like some bookish gifts that you think you would give people for Christmas?
I think one thing that's always kind of fun is a bookmark. And I've had people give me bookmarks.
Yeah.
I have a leather one with a cat on it. I have a metal one a friend brought from Europe. You know, and I gave out some that looked like little, very thin Oriental rugs.
Oh yeah.
And those were fun. And so I think that's always a good thing. Gift cards to Amazon or books at Barnes & Noble or any type of local bookstore, I think is always a great thing too, because people who read love to buy books. And if you have a gift card, all the better, because then you don't get into the problem of have they read it or not.
Yeah.
They can choose. And often, you know, new books will be coming out at the beginning of the new year, and so they can jump on that, and it's a great gift, because I've gotten them, and it's just like, oh my, I just want to lick my chops.
I've gotten some, well, usually for me, if anybody gives me a gift card for books, by the time I've left the location that I have gotten the gift card at, it's already been spent on pre-orders. And I always like pre-ordering books because the ones that I usually like, I'm pre-ordering like a year in advance. So when they finally come, it's like, I ordered this book.
Yes, and it's paid for, and it's like Christmas in July.
Yeah, I like what you said about bookmarks. I have one, and it shows a ostrich with its head in the sand, and it says books helping introverts avoid conversation since, what is it, like 16 something, whenever Gutenberg printed the Bible.
Yep.
And it's like, this is so, and I showed it to my husband. He goes, yeah, that's you in a bookmark. Hide behind your book.
Yes.
Don't talk. One thing I saw that I've kind of been thinking I'm going to put on my list, they've been making them a lot. I've seen them on Etsy, and they're kind of in the shape like this, and they have a hole in the middle, so you can put your thumb in it, and it holds your book open flat for you.
Oh, that would be nice.
Yeah, and I was like, so it's interesting, especially with like Etsy and all these other small businesses. There's a lot more on the market for like readers, it feels like, than there used to be. Somebody invented so it's a blanket, but it's got a little clasp on it, so you can wear it like a cape while you read.
Well, I really like that idea. But I have to figure out some way. I often read on my phone at night, and my cat likes to lay here. And then I'm reading like this, which doesn't work all that well. Yeah. And so then I have to figure out a way, and if I move enough, then she'll
get out of the way.
Yes. But there seems to me that should be a better way, because I put it in the blanket and then I can't read it. And
my cat has a habit of laying on the book that I want to read. So my dog had the same problem, but with crafts. So like if I would be crocheting a blanket, she would lay on the blanket and I would have to grab something else. So my husband used to make fun of me because I would have 2 like scarves or blankets going at a time, and he's like, "Why do you have that?" And I was like, "Just watch." I said, because eventually the dog is going to come and lay on my lap, and I'm not going to be able to flip the blanket over to work the other way. But yeah. That's why I always have more than one book going.
Yes.
And I have at least one book on my phone.
That's exactly right. You have to be prepared, because heaven forbid you'd have to wait somewhere, have nothing to do.
Or talk to people that you don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't do that either.
I like I've seen a sweatshirt where it has a book and it says, if you can read this, I was forced to rejoin society, or something. People are getting really creative with their
the slogans.
Yeah.
And but, reading is really big. I think it must have really taken off during COVID. And that's why you're seeing all these like sweatshirts and T-shirts and
people making bookmarks.
Yes. You know, another thing that is a nice gift is a book light that clips on a book. That's another gift that's nice, because a lot of people read at night, and if you're reading a real book, obviously there's no light. Yeah. Unlike a phone or a Kindle or a Nook.
That was my favorite thing after I got both of my kids. Well, Archie is still kind of back and forth, but when they sleep in their own room, it's like, I can leave the bedside light on. I don't have to go to sleep when the children go to sleep. But
I think that's a good gift, and I'm just trying to think of other things. I know I've seen it, but I haven't seen it lately. There was you know how Goodreads tracks what you read, and there's also like books you can buy, like notebooks where you can keep track
book journals?
of. Yes.
Yeah,
all your books you read, and I know a lot of people do that.
I know I'm not going to hit my goal for the year, which was probably, originally I set a goal for 150 books, not putting into fact that last November I had a baby and was not going to be reading for a lot of time. But, and then of course, you get to the point where I had children my children do not want to be put down and slept. They want to be held and slept. So then you have to hold a baby and then you can sit and read, which is nice.
Well, according to my reading streak,
weeks in a row, you've read 175 weeks in a row?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
22 days in a row.
Oh, you put me to shame, my dear.
And I don't even know how many books that is, actually. I would say a book every 3 days, maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is.
I always like with mine, it says I've read 75 out of 150 books.
Is that in Goodreads?
On Goodreads. But it says you are 62 books behind schedule. And I'm like, I don't need this kind of pressure in my life.
Really.
But I think it's amazing with people setting reading schedules that there are some people that are like, oh, I read 200 books. I read 400 books this year. And I'm like, teach me your ways.
It's called No Children, Betsy.
It is called No Children. Yeah, or it's called some people are really good speed readers, though, and can get through books really quickly, too, depending on what they...
I have read 142 titles this year.
You put me to shame.
Yeah, and I didn't pick a goal, I guess. And so, I've read from December 3rd, 2019 to November 27th, 2020, I read 361 days in a row. How about that? Who even knew that? If I exercise like that, imagine what I'd look like. Instead, no, I read.
Yeah. No,
I read exercise books. I don't do the exercise.
Well, it all starts somewhere, right? That's what they say. Yeah, no, I didn't. And I was trying to think of other Christmas books I'd read recently. And I think one of the last ones I read was in the Hannah Swenson series, Julia Fluke. Julia Fluke?
Fluke is the last name.
Fluke is the last name. Hannah Swenson lives in the small town of Lake Eden, Minnesota. I really wish Lake Eden, except for the fact that people keep getting killed in Lake Eden.
Yeah.
Lake Eden sounds like it
Detail.
would be a fun place to go visit, but she's the owner of a cookie shop. And in the Christmas one, so she has been working very hard to put together the cookbook, the Lake Eden town cookbook of everybody's recipes. And so throughout the books leading up to this one, everybody is trying somebody else's recipes and they're putting books together. And all of the books, as you go through them, have recipes in them which do not help you with your hunger problems when you're reading these books. But this book, there's a guy coming to take pictures for the cookbook. And so they are making all of the recipes to put out on these big tables. And it's just going to be a big party for everybody in the town. And of course, when everybody is there at the city center, giant Minnesota old-fashioned blizzard blows through and people are going to get stuck. And of course, someone is murdered with the cake cutting knife that belonged to Hannah's mother.
Of course.
And so it's trying to figure out who did it. But I mean, and this book, like I was getting close to the end of the book and I kept being like, there's this whole section at the back here. And I was like, is there going to be like, I'm like, we're getting really close to figuring out who did this. Is there going to be a major twist? Is there going to be like 7 more murders? No, the whole second half of this book is every single recipe they talk about during this book.
Wow.
So like the majority of the book is, and there actually is, I'll have to bring it to one of the next filmings, but they actually have released a cookbook. I've shown it to you.
We were looking at it.
Yeah, the author went through and put together this cookbook of all the recipes that were in the book. And I didn't do it on purpose, but the copy I ordered is a large print copy, which will make
Yes, it's really great.
cooking for me so much better. But I mean, it was just the idea of the small town, everybody coming together. You've got the ladies in the kitchen, and the ladies are fighting over which pattern of china to use and who's got a better plan for bringing the food out. And it's just, I mean, the characters are so fun in that book too. You've got Hannah, and she's got the like love triangle between her and the dentist, and then the sheriff who came from big city Minnesota. But and then Hannah's sister is always, she's a real estate agent who gets involved with all of Hannah's sleuthing. And every time she's always like, they tell her, don't help us. And then everybody's like, but you're still going to solve the murders, right? And she's like, well, yeah, I suppose I can.
That sounds like a good book. I'll have to read that one. Do you know what the name of it is?
I believe it's A Christmas Cookie Murder.
Okay.
Most of hers they're all dessert related. So there's, the first one is the chocolate chip cookie murder. There's a lemon meringue pie murder.
Cinnamon roll?
Cinnamon roll. Yep, there's a whole, I mean,
blueberry muffin.
There's a wedding cake murder. They've all got food in the title. And usually it winds up with somebody dying and being found with some kind of baked good, either close by the body or they've fallen into it and died or something.
It?
Yes. And there was one where she was at the state fair judging baked goods, and there's a cooking show one. There's all kinds of really great books, but I'm still working my way through those, and there's a lot of them, and I think I've only read maybe 8 or 9 of them, and I think there's like
30?
maybe 20 some. So
Yeah.
I've got a ways to go, but those are, I mean, that's the best thing about cozy mysteries, I think. They're like 200 pages. Cozy mysteries have like romance novels, have a pretty straight path arc that they're going to follow. And a lot of, with the Hannah Swenson books, I like to try to figure out who did it before she does. And with a few of them, I've gotten that far because she'll like give a little clue and then it's like, and then it's trying to wait and see how Hannah connects the dots. And usually, unfortunately for Hannah, she doesn't connect the dots fast enough until somebody's trying to kill her. So
Light goes on.
yeah. Anything else interesting you've read, whether Christmas related or not, that you want to share?
Mom, let me look at this. My little list of books. And
Kay, you just told us you've read 300 and some days in a row. It's not a little list of books that you were looking at.
well, that's true. It's just that I send them back. Oh,
Yeah.
One book I'm really excited about, and it's a Christmas book. And so I have talked about, and I pre-ordered it, so it's coming. I think it comes tomorrow, in fact. It's called The Mystery of Montague Morgan.
Okay.
And it's by a woman named Karen B-A-U-G-H, Menuhin, M-E-N-U-H-I-N. This is number 8 or 7 of the Heathcliff Lennox books.
Okay.
And that's Major Lennox. He was in the First World War. He was a pilot, and he had a Batman who's now his valet. But he drinks.
You know, when you said Batman,
Yeah,
I'm
you're thinking
figuring
Cape
like
Crusader.
Adam West, Cape Crusader.
In the English Army, a Batman was like a valet to an officer. And so Heathcliff is, you know, he's single. He lives in the falling down family estate. And the first book, he gets invited for Christmas, and they accuse him of murdering somebody. And they really think he did it. And he's like, he finally figures out, well, they really think I did this. I better solve this problem. And then each one has continuing characters, and his valet is really funny because he performs in the community opera.
Okay.
And in one book, they indicated they thought he was too old. And so he was really, you know, just moaning and groaning and just dragging around. And I think that one maybe Heathcliff took him to Damascus. They had to go there, and they go to all sorts of places, and all sorts of things happen to them. But they're great. But the new one, which is coming out, I think it's at Christmas. He's supposed to be getting married. And the last book, he went home with his fiancée, and he was sitting there, and he realized that there were just too many people, so he left. And so when he came back, like a year later, everyone he meets says, "Oh, so you're the runaway fiancée." And so I'm not quite sure what happens this time, because I think he's really supposed to get married. Yeah, it says it's 1920, and Christmas is coming. Major Lennox finds this is the first one, when he finds a body on his doorstep.
Okay.
And stuff. And so, so there is, they're all free right now on Kindle Unlimited.
Nice.
And this is the new one is the one with Montague, Morgan Montague, whoever the heck that is. And let's see. I suppose it's good. I paid $5.99 for that book, and it's going to be free on Kindle Unlimited. You just know it.
Probably not right away. It might take them a little bit to catch up.
I don't think so. Maybe. Yeah, it says, ladies' man, dandy, charming rogue, thief, Montague Morgan has a buccaneering reputation, and he doesn't give a damn until he falls in love. Uh-oh. So then he decides to steal some gold that belongs to some other people, and then things get complicated. His books are good. I really like Heathcliff, because he's sort of a dip. And things happen to him, and his best friend was the Scotland Yard inspector who was going to arrest him for murder in the first book, and then he ends up being in each of the books, and they're good. So, and the 8th book is coming out in September of 2022.
Okay.
And I might have to. Well, I don't know if I get this one free. I might have to just wait. But those books are really good, and I highly recommend them.
Yeah, they kind of, with the bumbling along, it reminds me of P.J. Wodehouse wrote a series of books where it's about Jeeves the butler.
Yes, I read those.
It's Jeeves and his, I can't remember the name of his boss, but he's sort of a
doofus.
Yeah, he's just this kind of.
And Jeeves is the brains of the operation.
Yes, he's like he's got a title. He's somebody's nephew.
Yes.
And he's always getting caught up in these problems. There's also a series of plays based on these that we've seen down in the cities at the theater and the round. But Jeeves is always getting him out of trouble, but never gets any credit for it. And it's always this guy, his boss, that's the one that's like, I fixed it. I think the first one is called My Man Jeeves or something like that. But they've all got Jeeves in the title. I know one of the plays is called Jeeves Intervenes.
They did it. I saw one at the Old Log Theater.
Okay.
They did one. And I'm just looking at here if it says what his books were, because And he was a very prolific writer, and he
Yes.
wrote more than 90 books, 40 plays, 200 short stories between
Yeah, it's
1902 and 1974. Wow.
It's amazing how many, some authors who can just,
Bang it
some
out.
just turn them out, and others, they write one book and you don't hear from them again.
I
But
know. And you know, I can understand that too, because that maybe that's all they had was one book in them.
Yep.
You know, and then you have to spend like 50 years trying to come up with a better idea.
Yeah, well, and at that point, we've reached the end of our time together this week. So we wish you a happy Merry Christmas, happy holiday season, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye.